As a leader, your responsibility is to protect the development of human capability. This does not mean rejecting AI. In today's world, that would be both naive and unhelpful. But it does mean you need to become more intentional about what AI is allowed to remove. The question is not simply, can AI do this? The wiser question, and I will repeat this, I invite you to write it down. The wiser question is, should AI do this completely, or does some part of this work need to remain human because it develops human capacity? Again, the wiser question, should AI do this completely, or does some part of this work need to remain human because it develops human capacity? Artificial intelligence is changing how decisions are made. Wisdom determines whether those decisions serve what matters, protect what is human, and shape a future worthy of us. That is where our conversations begin. Welcome to Beyond AI, Wisdom at Work. Welcome to Beyond AI, Wisdom at Work. I'm Brian Gorman, your host, and today we're doing something a little bit different. After nearly 180 episodes of conversations and then Beyond AI with guests, I'm going to begin adding an occasional solo episode. The reason is simple. These conversations are revealing patterns that deserve to be named more directly. Guests will remain central to the podcast, but approximately once a month, I want to step back and explore one of the deeper leadership questions emerging beneath the surface of AI, work, change, and human wisdom. This first solo episode looks at a question I believe leaders need to take seriously now. What happens when AI begins doing the very work that in the past has formed the people who work in the organization? Most organizations are asking what AI can make faster, cheaper, or easier. These are legitimate questions, but they're not enough, because some of the work AI may remove was never just output. It was work in which people learned judgment, accountability, confidence, pattern recognition, and wisdom. So today, I want to explore what leaders need to protect as AI changes how work gets done. Because AI is not only changing work, it's changing both how and what people learn. Most organizations are looking at AI through the lens of efficiency. They're asking, what can AI do faster? What can it produce cheaper? What can AI automate? Where can we reduce effort? These are legitimate questions, but they're incomplete. The deeper leadership question is, before the integration of artificial intelligence, what did people learn by doing the work that AI may now do for them? Because this is where the real risk begins. Not because AI is bad, not because efficiency is wrong, but because work has always been more than output. Work has also been one of the primary ways people develop judgment, pattern recognition, confidence, accountability, wisdom. So AI is changing the work, but it's also changing the learning architecture underneath that work. And if leaders don't pay attention, the organization may gain speed while weakening the very human capacities it will need most. Because entry-level work was never just entry-level work. AI can now absorb or accelerate much of the work that has traditionally been done at the entry level. AI can do research, analysis, drafting, first pass recommendations, preparing for client meetings, meeting notes, presentation decks, graphics, summaries, performance feedback drafts, coding, design concepts, problem diagnoses, and decision briefs. And on the surface, much of this work can look like low value. But that is the leadership trap. A lot of early career work looks inefficient because the person doing it is still learning. But the learning is the point. People learn by gathering too much information or the wrong information and then figuring out what matters. They learn by drafting something imperfect and revising it and revising it and sometimes revising it again. They learn by preparing for a client conversation and then discovering what they missed. They learn by making a recommendation and having someone ask, what led you to that conclusion? They learn by seeing how a decision lands in the real world, not only how it looks in a document. That work creates the foundation for future responsibility. And if AI removes too much of it too quickly, organizations may not simply be automating tasks. They may be removing formative experiences. Today's AI choices become tomorrow's normal, and this is where the risk accelerates. Many AI decisions are being made in the language of pilots, experiments, productivity, and workflow improvement. A tool gets introduced to save time. A task gets handed to AI because it's faster. A junior employee stops doing the first draft. A manager stops asking for the thinking behind the recommendation because it comes from AI. A team begins relying on AI summaries instead of direct customer exposure. A dashboard replaces a conversation. A decision brief becomes more polished, but less deeply understood. At first, these may look like small choices, but small choices do not stay small for long inside organizations. Repeated choices become patterns. Patterns become expectations. Expectations become habits. Habits become operating norms. Operating norms become culture. Eventually, someone says, this is just the way we do it around here. And that is the hidden danger. The organization may normalize the loss of developmental work before it has even recognized what is being lost. This is not just a technology adoption issue. It's a cultural formation issue. The choice that you as a leader is making today about AI, the choices you're making are becoming the culture employees will inherit tomorrow. One of the most undervalued developmental experiences is regular interaction with clients and customers. Historically, organizations have failed to leverage this. People at the front edge are constantly seeing patterns. What customers are confused by, what clients keep asking for, where expectations are shifting, where trust is strengthening or weakening, where the formal process does not match the lived experience, where the same frustration keeps showing up in different language. AI can summarize customer data. AI can identify trends. AI can analyze sentiment. But human beings develop judgment by being involved in the interaction. They hear hesitation. They notice tone. They sense what is not being said. They begin to recognize patterns before those patterns are clean enough to show up in a dashboard. If AI removes people too far from those interactions, organizations may not only weaken employee development, they may weaken their own ability to sense what is changing in the marketplace, the customer relationship, and the lived experience of the people they serve. So this challenge is not just about protecting junior employees. It's about protecting the organization's ability to learn. Most organizations promote people based on an assumption. The assumption is that over time, people have accumulated lessons learned. They've seen enough, they've tried enough, they've failed enough. They've revised enough, they've handled enough complexity, they've sat with enough ambiguity. They've learned about people, clients, systems, consequences, trade-offs. But what happens when people reach the next level without having had enough developmental experience? They may have credentials. They may have AI fluency. They may be efficient. They may know how to produce polished work. They may look ready on paper. But have they developed discernment? Have they built confidence grounded in experience rather than performance? Have they learned accountability by carrying real responsibility? Have they developed ethical sensitivity by seeing how decisions affect people? Have they learned how to revise their thinking when the first answer is wrong? Have they learned to sit with ambiguity without rushing toward artificial certainty? That is the promotion risk. People may appear ready before they have actually been formed by the work. And if the organization has already normalized AI doing much of that formative work, the gap may not become visible until people are in roles that require judgment they were never given the opportunity to develop. So, what human capacities are at risk? The capacities most at risk are not soft extras. They are the capacities that make someone worthy of trust with larger responsibility. Let me go through them just briefly. Discernment, the ability to know what matters, not just what is available. Discernment is at risk. Confidence is at risk. Not bravado, not polish, earned confidence that comes from practice, correction, experience, and recovery. Accountability is at risk. The ability to own a recommendation, a decision, a consequence, or a mistake. The ability to say what went into that decision, that recommendation, and to be able to recognize what was left out. Ethical sensitivity is at risk. The ability to notice who may be affected, what could be lost, what responsibility remains human, and where speed creates harm. Communication is at risk. The ability to explain, question, listen, challenge, adapt, and translate meaning across different audiences. Resilience is at risk. The capacity to struggle, recover, revise, grow, and stay engaged when the work does not go smoothly. Client awareness is at risk. The ability to see connections, consequences, dependencies, trade-offs, and unintended effects. The ability to revise is at risk. Not just editing words, but changing one's mind in response to better information. Not just going back to the technology and saying, this didn't work, give me a different answer this time. The ability to sit with ambiguity is at risk. The capacity to stay present when the answer is not yet clear. These are not abstract leadership traits. They are developed through repeated engagement with real work, real people, real constraints, and real consequences. If people are removed from too much of that too early, the organization may not just lose skills, it may lose depth. As a leader, your responsibility is to protect the development of human capability. This does not mean rejecting AI. In today's world, that would be both naive and unhelpful. But it does mean you need to become more intentional about what AI is allowed to remove. The question is not simply, can AI do this? The wiser question, and I will repeat this, I invite you to write it down. The wiser question is, should AI do this completely, or does some part of this work need to remain human because it develops human capacity? Again, the wiser question, should AI do this completely, or does some part of this work need to remain human because it develops human capacity? AI is not a technology issue. It's a leadership issue. The real question isn't how do we use AI? It's what kind of organization are we becoming as we use it? I advise CEOs, founders, senior teams, and boards as they face the human, cultural, ethical, and strategic consequences of artificial intelligence. The outcome is greater clarity, stronger alignment, and decisions that hold both intelligence and wisdom. Start with a no-pitch 30-minute conversation by calling country code 1-917-653-5198 or emailing Brian, B-R-I-A-N, at transforminglives.coach. Leaders need to recognize the unique capabilities human beings bring and protect the development of those capabilities. That includes discernment, relational intelligence, ethical awareness, contextual understanding, imagination, accountability, wisdom. Some work may need to be redesigned rather than automated. Some work may need to remain partially human, not because AI cannot do it, but because people still need to learn through it. Some processes may need to move more slowly for developmental reasons, even when the technology of artificial intelligence could make them move faster. This is one of your responsibilities in this AI era. Do not let efficiency quietly hollow out the formation of future leaders. Do not let efficiency quietly hollow out the formation of future leaders. As a leader, what can you do differently? There are practical moves you can make. First, identify the developmental work hidden inside the routine work. Before automating a task, ask, what do people currently learn by doing this? What judgment does this build? What exposure does it create? What mistakes does this allow people to make while the stakes are still manageable? Second, separate output from formation. AI may produce the output, but leaders still need to ask how people are being formed into capable professionals. A polished deliverable is not the same thing as a developed person. A faster process is not the same as a stronger leadership pipeline. Third, require people to show their thinking. Before accepting AI-assisted work, ask, what do you see? What do you recommend? What assumptions are being made? What could be missing? What would change your mind? Who could be affected by this? What bias might be buried inside? The point is not to ban AI. The point is to keep human reasoning visible. Fourth, preserve client and customer exposure. Do not let AI dashboards and robots, or pardon me, do not let AI dashboards and chatbots become a substitute for human contact with the market, the customer, the employee, or the community. People need to hear the hesitation. They need to sense the frustration. They need to notice the weak signal before it becomes measurable noise. They need to understand the person behind the data. Fifth, create deliberate apprenticeship. If AI removes accidental learning, leaders need to design intentional learning. That may mean more shadowing, more debriefs, more mentoring, more case review, more explanation of decisions, and more opportunities for people to make first pass recommendations before AI refines them. Sixth, decide where speed is not the primary value. Some work should be fast. Some work should be careful. Some work should be developmental. As a leader, you need to know and apply the difference. Seventh, pay attention to what is becoming normal. This may be the most important move. Ask regularly. What are we no longer asking people to do? What are we no longer asking people to notice? What are we no longer asking people to practice? What are we no longer asking people to carry? Because once something becomes the way we do it, it becomes much harder to question. It becomes much less likely to be questioned. And also, be intentional about reframing AI adoption as leadership development. AI adoption is often treated as a technology rollout, a productivity initiative, or a change management challenge. It is all of those. But it is also a leadership development issue. Every AI decision shapes what people practice. What people practice shapes what they become good at, and what they become good at shapes the future capacity of the organization. And what the organization normalizes shapes what future employees will assume is simply how work is done. So the question really becomes, are we using AI in ways that make people more capable or merely make them more dependent? That is the line you as a leader need to watch. If AI helps people think better, see more clearly, question more wisely, and act with greater responsibility, it can strengthen human capability. But if AI provides the first answer, the polished draft, the summarized meeting, the customer interpretation, the recommendation, and the decision brief before people have learned how to do those things themselves, it may weaken the very capacity organizations will need most. The future of work will not be shaped only by what AI can do. It will be shaped by what human beings are still given the chance to learn. So in closing, AI can do more work. But leaders, you as a leader, remain responsible for deciding what must not disappear from the work. Because what gets automated today may become what no one learns tomorrow. And once that becomes the way we do it, the organization may not notice the loss until it starts promoting people into responsibilities they were never given the chance to grow into. So the real danger is not that AI will do too much work. The real danger is that people will have too few opportunities to become wise through the work they're doing. That is not a technical question. It is a leadership question. It is a leadership question for you. And the answer may determine whether your organization becomes faster and wiser or simply faster and thinner. Before I close, I want to let you know that I'll continue bringing guests into this conversation as always. And from time to time, I'll use these solo episodes to name the patterns I'm seeing across the larger field of AI leadership, work, and wisdom. Because the future of work will not be shaped by technology alone. It will be shaped by the choices we as leaders make about what remains deeply human. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to talking with you again soon. If anything I said rings a bell, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is in the show notes, and I'm always happy to have a conversation. AI may give us faster answers, but the deeper work is still ours, choosing wisely, leading humanely, and shaping workplaces worth belonging to. If anything in this episode connects to what you or your organization is facing, reach out. I'd welcome the conversation. I'm Brian Gorman, and this is Beyond AI, Wisdom at Work.